Welcome to another episode of PBMIS. Now, in this episode, we want to touch on how to add more budgets to a budget that you have already, or an activity you have already captured, and also how to update an activity if you realize that there are issues with it, and also how to remove a budget line or a detail line under an activity if you realize that you don't need it again. So first of all, we will go back to our goods and services menu and click on goods and services to open our goods and services screen. When that is done, what will happen is that we will come and search for the particular activity that we want to make changes to. So by the budget ID, beside the budget ID, you click on the finder beside the budget ID. We are going to do some modification to the last budget that we captured, which is saving a child program. So that is this particular budget. We select it and click on select, and it brings all the activity or all the detail line that we captured under that particular budget line. Now realize that we forgot to add training allowance. So this is a training. So we forgot to add training allowance. So we'll add our training allowance. We will straight ahead come down to where the budget detail is. And this is also a service. So we'll select service. And this is item number 2. And we call it training allowance. Now the training allowance, we are paying per person as the unit of measure. And how much are we paying each person? We are paying each person 500 cedis. And the quantity, how many people are we going to train? We are going to train 50 people. The number of days that we are training the people is 5 days because we are renting the conference room for 5 days. Then, which account is it related to? So let's look for an allowance. And this allowance is related to, let's go to other allowances. Let's see if, or let's search for training. Oh, so it's a training allowance. So let's select our training allowance and we add it. So that line has also been added to our budget. And like we realized earlier, our budget has now increased to 622,000. Okay, so we do realize that the training that we just captured, instead of 60 people, we made it 50 people. So how do we change it? All that we need to do is to, under there where we captured our item lines, whichever item you want to change, just select on the item. So assuming we want to make modification to the first item, which is the purchase of the A4 sheet, we select A4 sheet. But this time around, we want to make changes to the training allowance. So let's select the training allowance. Then we will change the number of people we are going to train to 60 and hit on update. And our budget is updated. So we realize when you check over here, the training allowance, realize that it has changed to 60 and our budget has also changed to 722. Let's do one more update. We want to update the item that we are buying, that is the A4 sheets. And the A4 sheets, since we've changed the training allowance to 60, we want to give each person an A4 rim. So we change that one to 60 as well. And we hit on update. And our budget once more has been updated. So we see the figure changing to 726,400. Let's add another budget line, and let's see if we can remove that budget line. So this time around, let's add another goods to the budget line. So what are we buying? Probably we want to buy a computer. So we want to buy, let's say, a Dell computer, or let's do computer, just computer. We don't want to restrict ourselves. So computer. So under the computer category, we select computer, other computers, because we don't know which computer we are going to buy. And we are saying that this computer is going to cost us 5,500 cedis. And we want to buy 2 of these computers. And it's a one-time purchase, so 1. Then we hit on add, and we add our computer to it. But later, realize that, oh, we don't actually need the computer, and hence we need to take it out of the list. All that we do is to select the computer line and hit on delete. It will say, the system will ask, do you want to remove the budget line? We say yes. And our budget line is removed, and the budget comes back to where it was, which is 726,000. You can go ahead and reprint your budget, and you have your budget activity, which you can submit for approval. So that is how we add a budget when you omit some of the items, and you can also update your budget and delete your budget. Now, the last thing we want to touch on is, let's say that you have done a budget or an activity and you don't want the activity. What do? You still come to the budget ID, click on the finder. This time around, we want to remove this particular activity 21, which is the activity for 2023. We hit on select. Now, when we hit on select, it brings that particular activity. Then we click on delete. So it tells us, you want to remove the budget line. We say yes. To remove the first budget line. Then we delete to remove the second budget line. Now that we have removed all the budget lines, the last bit, when we click on delete, the system will ask us, you are about to delete an entire budget. Do you want to continue? We say yes. And the entire budget has been deleted. Let's go to the find. When we go to the find, realize that that budget is not part of our budget list again. Let's go and print our report and see whether the budget is part of our budget list. So we close, go to analytical report, we select budget allocation by specific activity and source of fund, and we hit on print. And from the report, let me zoom the report. From the report, we can find out that that budget is no more part of our budget activities. Now, on your dashboard, you realize that the dashboard is still reflecting your old dashboard. That is the graph. If you want the dashboard to reflect the new budget that you have done, hit on refresh and your dashboard will update. So here we see that now our UNICEF budget has been added and our dashboard has changed. We now have mortality and better health, and mortality has increased. Better health is very small. We need the budget very insignificant. That is why we are seeing a 0%. Thank you for joining us for this particular episode of PBMIS training. We will come again with another training. Thank you for joining us for this training.